Hey there and welcome. My name is Tina. I help people align with who they really are. I want to say a big thank you for being here. For those of you who watch, subscribe, and especially comment. It is greatly appreciated. In today's video, I'm going to connect with the very vibrant and somewhat rebellious energy of Miss Lisa Marie Presley. Being the only child of the great Elvis Presley, she inherited fame and fortune. However, who was she really, and what did her soul want to learn from her incarnation here? As a first, I am going to compare her chart with her father's chart to show you the relational patterning that one can share with their family member, or what I would call soul family. And that can be blood family or other pivotal relationships. If you are new to my channel, please understand these videos are not meant to put the famous on a pedestal or to condemn them in any way. This is an opportunity to look at them as spiritual beings having a human experience, as we all are. Showcasing their soul contracts gives them an opportunity to come through and mentor us from the other side. If you would like to know more about the history of the soul contract and how I put the charts together, please watch my short introductory video that I will put a link to in the description box below. I connect with those that cross over energetically, but so can you. We are all given qualities that make this a possibility to connect with people who have crossed over either through creative writing, meditation, or honing our sixth sense. Especially connecting to our loved ones who have crossed over. They love to send you signs to tell you that they are still supporting you from the other side. You just have to be open to receiving them and those messages that they send. Now, we're going to start by taking a look at Lisa Marie's chart, bring in some of her father's similarities, and at the end, I will pull a few oracle cards to get any additional messages directly from her to you. So here we go. Let me share my screen and we will pull up the beautiful Lisa Marie Presley. And I didn't give too much of a backstory on her because she is so famous. And she was a singer-songwriter like her father, not quite as well published, but she had a lot of philanthropy and charities and things that she did as well that a lot of people aren't aware of. So she definitely had a lot to offer in what I would consider her short life, since she died at the age of 54. But again, here I'm going to highlight my mouse for you guys. I always do. So we can we can start to look here on the left side of the chart, which is where the soul contract is on the Star of David. But I did also put together her numbers in the aspects against her father's numbers so that I can reference them and we can talk about the similarities and how that impacted Lisa Marie. So as you can see, this is a beautiful Lisa Marie. I love that picture with her and her father. It's just so stunningly beautiful. So as I walk you through her chart, we'll hit again on the numbers and how they're manifesting for her, which basically helped her create her personality and to manifest her reality. I like to start out by pointing out the two interlocking triangles here. The physical triangle, which points to the earth. And this is where, we all start to manifest our life from. Then we look at the spiritual side of the chart. And this can start to manifest anytime during our life, depending on where we're at in our ascension journey, how many lifetimes we've had. Keeping in mind all of the numbers can manifest either positively or negatively, regardless of which aspect they sit in. This is primarily dependent on how we grow in self-awareness and consciousness, driven by our thoughts, which trigger our emotions, and this inevitably creates our reality. So both triangles have challenges that will manifest for us. And then we choose certain qualities or talents, as I like to refer to them, to help us with those challenges. And then we have these drives, or I call them goals as well. So they can kind of be, kind of what gets us up in the morning, what lights us up, what our passions are. And then the numbers all accumulate up into this center number, which generates the overall energy and is basically the life purpose, the overall aspect that the soul wanted to gain from this incarnation. So I like to start with the physical challenges aspect as this sets us up in life. You will notice this blended number of the 11 2. She has a lot of double numbers in her chart, which can actually make her life a little bit more rigid because she doesn't have a lot of different numbers to draw off of. I've talked about this in Prince's videos and a few others, that they can sometimes have a hard time engaging with life. And Lisa Marie had some other things going on as well. So that will definitely played a part in her creating her realities. So if you notice, this is her one blended number. And not only is this in her physical challenges, but now if we go over here and we've got her father's chart right up next to her chart, he also had that same energy in his physical challenges as well. So often as a child, we will, through a soul agreement, take on the unprocessed pain or unresolved issues from our parent. This is exactly what is reflected here in this having the same number in the challenges. We would consider this a DNA inheritance pattern. What this 11-2 meant for both Lisa Marie and Elvis was learning to find the structure and balance in their life, learning how to value life, to make thoughtful, good decisions, and becoming emotionally resilient and wise. Having this in challenges, excuse me, would mean for both Lisa and her father that they came here to develop their own structure of what life should look like for them. Basically, then Elvis kind of did his own thing, created his own dynasty, and then Lisa was supposed to create her own structure of what life should look like, basically do her own thing and create something that was primarily her own. However, I had talked a lot about in Elvis's video that the 11-2 carries with it a codependency energy. And because this is in physical challenges and because it creates a lack of structure, the soul is born in this aspect can make them feel lost. So they attach themselves to others, and sometimes it can take on a codependency and other dysfunctional patterns as well in the process. So this can manifest as an issue in school as well, which Lisa sometimes had trouble fitting in. They can feel very lost at times. Again, the lesson is about learning to find their own way of doing things on their own terms. This number would also make Lisa very, very sensitive, as Elvis was also very sensitive. So she had that in common with their father, that they both could go off, basically. There's a story about her witnessing her dad shooting the TV in one of his outbursts. And so it was usually their mother that would be the calming force in the family, helping to ground them. Because one of the things I noticed in both Elvis's and Lisa Marie's charts is they don't have a lot of good grounding energy. So they would rely on other people to help provide that to them. So being that this number is so hypersensitive, which comes from the 2, you can see the spring here, it's tied to the moon energy and the cycles of the moon. It usually manifests in huge ups and downs in moods. So you can Talk to any police officer about how busy it gets around a full moon, if you want to talk about the cycles of the moon. So, and what this is for them, it's about learning to look at things from different heights. You see the spring here and the moods going up and down, but looking at things from different perspectives, right? And it is referred to as the foolishness to wisdom number because we initially make bad decisions based on that reactive emotion. And hopefully we start to, develop a mature self-awareness, and then we become less reactive and make better decisions as we grow. This can take some trial and error, but that is the point of this two in the aspect here. Now, seeing her father die at the age of 9 was incredibly traumatic for Lisa Marie. And she had said that she knew it was coming. This was not only tied to the 11-2, which are lessons about the cycles of life, but because she also stated she could feel it coming. This also ties into these psychic fives that she has here in her chart as well. In fact, she had an obsession about death early in her life. And this comes directly from this 11-2, which was all about pushing her to go deeper as to the meaning of death, and was a part about her learning that life and death are all part of a cycle. So, and it's also about learning how to let go as well, like becoming detached and having a maturity about it, knowing that the body dies, but the soul can never die. So it's about going a little bit deeper there to the spirituality side of that number. And about learning how to let go and to be able to move forward in her life, which is not easy for somebody who has an 11-2 in the challenges. Some of these lessons can seem incredibly harsh, but they're always meant for our personal growth. This number also would have clouded her judgment because it's in challenges, and it would draw people and situations to her that could be very damaging emotionally. She talked openly in interviews about some of her relationships and about her feelings, of betrayal as she navigated through some of those situations. She came to the realization that she had not thought these relationships through initially, and they came about due to her reacting through emotion and also jumping in feet first, which is tied to the impulsivity of these challenged fives. And because 11-2 is tied to the eyes, it's about what you are really seeing, making sure that it's in reality, that what you're seeing is the truth. Both her and her dad, because it's about seeing, they both had beautiful eyes. It was something you notice, at least I can tell people with this number usually in their charts, because they usually have very beautiful eyes, and you could definitely see that about them. And it was a dead giveaway if you really look at their eyes and pictures, and how you can kind of tell when they're really struggling as well. You start to see these pictures closer to when they crossed over. And it's, like I said, about seeing and clarity. And she especially could see how damaging the people that had been around her dad were to him. But sometimes she struggled seeing what she was doing in her own life and how that was damaging to herself. As we all know, it's easier to see what's going on in someone else's life than ourselves. Both her and her father chose this number to learn those lessons about the importance of being around people with high integrity, to not only understand what might be motivating somebody to want to be with you, but also understanding what your motivation is in that relationship as well, because it goes both ways, to see things clearly and not through any type of filter we're putting on. So overall, this number was about them learning harmony, personal values, balance in their life, structure, as I said, and an adaptable sense of self. Now, the challenged vibes here for Lisa Marie and her spiritual side was about her learning to be independent, inventive, and to be pioneering in her approach. Truth and freedom would be very important to her. And because fives are tied to speech, writing also would be important to Lisa Marie. Because of this being in the challenging aspect, it would challenge Lisa to maneuver her way around all of those preconceived ideas about who she was supposed to be, how she should behave, because this number makes her very impulsive and reckless. And as I mentioned earlier, it would cause her to speak her mind even if it offended someone, or to jump into things too quickly. And that was definitely in her relationships. We can especially talk about her marrying Michael Jackson 20 days after her, I believe it was her first divorce from, I think it was Danny. This was a very impulsive behavior. It doesn't mean that this wasn't love. It's not what it means at all, but it's about taking time to get to know if this is right for the both of them, how they would make this work. Michael is very much in the public eye and wanted to continue to be so. And Lisa Marie didn't really want that. I mean, she was so over the whole fame thing, you know. So again, it was about them trying to find that balance. And she eventually realized that this was a pattern that she fell into, and it was based on what she saw with her father, how Michael was surrounding himself with the wrong type of people who were manipulating him and enabling the addictions and compulsions. She realized this was really a symbolic attempt to recreate a situation where she could save somebody like her father. But Michael wasn't ready for that. He was too entrenched in his own addictions and compulsions, and he couldn't see her for what she had to offer. Sometimes we create all these distractions, again, to keep us from getting onto our true path. She wants us to know it is not up to us to save anyone else, but to lead by example. And those who are ready and willing will reach out and get the help they need. Everyone really does their own healing. They just sometimes need a little guidance to get started or help in identifying where their blocks are coming from. This number also made Lisa very psychic, like we had talked about, where she could really knew something bad was going to happen with her dad, and she could really sense that coming along. And being that it was in the challenge position, sometimes she would disregard her intuition, and she would always not act upon her first right instinct, so and not trust her intuition here. And that did get her into some trouble again. And she says there were certain roads she probably would not have gone down if she would have followed her first instinct. So, and none of that is bad. It's we all tend to bounce back and forth. These charts are designed that way. Our challenges keep coming back around for us throughout our life. It's the universe's way of checking in to see if we've really learned the lesson, if we recognize the pattern, to see it for what it is. And then most of the time, if that's the case, we get through it much easier with less trauma, and we can move on to other things. And so, however, sometimes we'll see people, if they're struggling to get on to their true path, the lessons can actually become more painful throughout their lives. So it's always kind of a sign to, sorry, I don't mean to keep moving the screen there. I'm trying to get my notes moving correctly here, because I have some notes that I like to refer back to as I'm going through the numbers so I don't miss any points that I want to make. So Lisa picked these beautiful qualities of the 7, which is one of her dominant numbers. It's tied to the Gemini energy and to the heart. 4 or more of the same number is what constitutes a dominant energy. And you can be exposed heavily to these, positively or negatively, depending on how you're where you're at in your ascension process. As I stated, the 7s are all about the heart, working with and opening up the heart and healing it. So after her father died, Lisa shut down her heart, being so hypersensitive from that too in her challenges. It was just a protective measure. The 7s gave Lisa the ability to garner a level of objectivity and control around her heart. This is someone who would need a very safe place to express who she really was and what she was feeling. She would need a strong, non-judgmental therapist, even friend or intimate partner to help her deal with her trauma. Being a dominant 7, she became really good at hiding who she truly was. She became, especially in her intimate relationship, she struggled to find someone who was really interested in who she was at a deep soul level. Sometimes the 7s can manifest these types of partners so that they can continue hiding who they are, because that's part of that 7s want to stay hidden. And then they make such great actors. They initially act how they think their partner wants them to be rather than showing who they really are. However, as the relationship starts to evolve, they begin to show themselves, and it can sometimes create some confusion in relationships because people are like, well, they want you to be who you were trying to be before, not who you really are. And so this can come across as betrayal and, again, her feeling rejected. But by doing this, it wasn't long until she figured out who was really interested in her and who wasn't. So being such a public figure, I think we can understand that she would be raised to always feel like she had to put a mask on and to put others, how others would view her actions ahead of her own well-being and her own truth, to make sure she maintained some public purity, perfection, so to speak, not to draw any negative attention to herself or that family legacy. I can't imagine the pressure that she felt and how it really eroded her own sense of self. I just can't imagine. This is really quite a challenging soul family here. You think, oh, well, she had money and fame, and this gives people all of these advantages, but not necessarily. You really have to look at things from all kinds of different perspectives because it's not just about fame and fortune, that it doesn't buy happiness, it doesn't buy truth or freedom or love. And this was a big struggle for her. So, with this energy, she had a deep, deep-seated feeling that there's something wrong with her at a deep level. And she even mentioned that in one of the songs she wrote called You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. I'll put the lyrics in the description box below. So these types of masking in relationships can manifest because it's all about her learning to accept herself, including her dark shadow side, which we all have. And we all need to deal with that in these lifetimes and incarnations because all of us have the negative and the positive. And it's about learning to accept yourself completely, including the dark side and all of our flaws and ugliness and selfishness at times. And for her to learn it's okay to come out of hiding. From her perspective, she mentioned how she hated being in the public eye and all of the interviews because everyone just wanted to know about her relationship with her dad, and they didn't want to really hear about the good things. They wanted the dirt, right? They wanted the gossip, and if they didn't get it, they would write things that they really didn't know what was going on, and they would make things up. And I can't imagine being in that position. And this really rubbed Elisa Marie the wrong way. It's made her very distrusting of others and sometimes of herself. When you don't trust others, and she probably overanalyzed sometimes what she said and what she did, or her family maybe came across as, oh, you shouldn't have done that. And then they would look at her in the wrong way. And so again, it causes this, a lot of these feelings of hard to make decisions about how to behave. And it just makes a person want to go back into hiding. So I completely resonate with her wanting to do that. People who have these 7s in their chart are very magnetic, and people are drawn to them, their healing energy. And she did try to help people. People were drawn to her for a reason. However, she was not able to help them. Most of them were not willing and wouldn't value what she had to say because she still had a lot of her own growth that she had to do before she would exude the type of energy that she needed to draw the people that were ready to be healed. Having children with sevens helped Lisa Marie to open up her heart and to allow some of that healing to take place. However, the death of her beloved son was another crushing blow and broke her heart open into a million pieces. The grief was particularly devastating as she felt, as a mom, that she was somehow responsible for his departure. And of course, we are not. People are responsible for their own lives. Again, this was another very painful lesson about learning the value of life. And she did reach out and write a beautiful essay about her son in order to help others understand that personal grief and what it is and how it's personal to you, to each of us, in what we're going through. That is the power of people who have these sevens and fives in their chart, writing about their own personal experiences and bringing, as you can see, these links to a chain, bringing their experiences and bring other people together to unite, which inspires people into action and provides healing. So the sixes all over her chart here, and we see the six here. Her dad was, you can see, was more driven by his 11 twos. She's more driven by the sixes here in her chart, which she would be more predominantly heavily influenced, finding the right word there, influenced by these numbers, where Elvis was more heavily influenced by the 11-2. That's going to make sense here in a moment. The sixes we see all over her chart was Lisa Marie's drives, or her life purpose, or drives. I call them goals. Sometimes it's represented in that ancestral patterning, because we see it in her dad's chart, tied to a very strong will with an undercurrent of rebelliousness. Now, I think we can agree that Elvis, that helped him to expand, having that kind of rebel bad boy look really helped him in his career. And Lisa Marie, since this was her dominant vibration again, gave her that very strong rebel aspect to her personality, and that really came through in her music and her writing. And when she was interviewed, she has this very rebellish outspokenness, kind of this stubborn, uncooperative, F you type of energy. Kind of like that about her, actually. And this number gave them both creativity, and this would make Lisa Marie very, very artistic. She was said to always have been drawn to music, and except that she felt she was a very naive in picking the same path as her father. I kind of got a sense from her energy that, again, that was a little bit of this pulling too much from the ancestral line, and that she should have tried some different avenues is kind of what I was getting, not just the music and singing portion, although that's very helpful for people with karmic fives, is that singing in public, and sevens coming out of hiding. But she said, again, that she was naive in picking the same path as her father, not realizing how everyone, I mean, she had some sense of it, but not how bad they would be comparing her and reviewing everything, comparing her to her father, who is this huge legend, right? And making this almost like a competitive thing. So this was about her learning to become focused. Sixes are about focusing on what you're doing to create what it truly is that you are, passionate. The sevens are about living through the heart and what you really love to do. She knew she could capitalize and was very drawn to doing a few videos in memory of her father because she loved her father so dearly, but she really wanted to develop her own sense of self. And that's that pioneering energies from the fives coming through, that she wants to create her own, and the 11 too, her own structure of truth, her own dynasty. So she said she had been writing and singing since she was 20, but again, those sevens here, she kind of remained in hiding, which is why people hadn't heard from her. She wasn't out performing. Again, that's that wanting to stay hiding, being reluctant to show herself to the world. So she did release her first album, To Whom It May Concern, which went to number 5 on the charts. And it did go, I think it did go gold. I think it was for her. She only had like 3 albums, not very many. And through the lyrics of that particular song, To Whom It May Concern, she spoke about how money should have done something for the sadness, but how she was so deep into this abyss, because we get this illusion that money buys happiness and buys you what you want. But she was saying how that wasn't happening for her, that the help wasn't coming, and that she was pushing a button to self-destruction. People with sixes can be very stubborn and not want to seek help. So then it's another way they isolate themselves. And we know Elvis did that. From time to time, he would isolate himself. And this would be an additional challenge for Lisa Marie, considering this was another dominant number, like that 7, which also creates hiding the persona for her. It's also tied to the liver and to the emotions of anger and frustration. If not transmuted properly, it can build up a lot of toxicity in the body, and that happened very much for Lisa and her father. This is something that is very important for us to learn how to deal with. It can be quite positive if transmuted properly, as it can be used to catapult somebody into action and reflection. Lisa was able to process a lot of her frustration and anger through her music and lyrics, and they are quite dark. I would encourage you to spend some time looking and listening to her lyrics. And this is an effective, positive way for these sixes here to do that, to handle that anger and frustration. And it also provides that, again, we talk about the link here through the sevens, for others to bond with the messages that you are conveying in order to feel that they're not alone. So it brings and unites people together in a commonality, which is very supporting and healing in itself. The other ancestral issue stemming from that 6 in both her and her dad's chart here is addictions. The 6s are all about learning how to focus, and the opposite of focus is getting all of these temptations that come into play and challenge that aspect, especially with them both having those 11 twos and their physical challenges, and those are out of balance emotions. And so addictions are easier to manifest in a culture where drugs and alcohol are the go-to in order to regulate one's emotions. Instead of learning other means such as meditation, grounding exercises, etc., we go for the quick fix. And when that is supported by a medical community that treats symptoms rather than the whole person, and a pharmaceutical companies that hold a lot of power, we just treat the symptoms instead of the whole person, and it's a recipe for disaster. We see it time and time again. Doesn't matter who you are, how much money you have, and how famous you are. So Lisa Marie went through a period of stability, though, earlier in her life, and she did some counseling, which was more aligned to these 7s and her qualities and helping others to heal. However, after the death of her son, Lisa Marie went back to an old pattern, and that happens with us, and these old patterns show up, as I said, throughout your life, and she went back to that old pattern of self-medicating to try and manage the pain and those emotions. And we know at that time, the movie about Elvis was coming out. She was dredging up a lot of old trauma through the recreation of the movie, and that became another issue for her to hoping to try to get her to come back to working with the heart and healing the heart and trying to, again, heal herself in that way. It's all by design. Nothing is here to harm us. It's all meant to help us. And so because those 7s were tied to the heart, it was more than she could handle, and that's why her heart gave out. I would like to talk about what it says as far as a cardiovascular incident for Lisa Marie. In the book that I have, Messages from the Body, by Dr. Michael J. Lincoln, PhD, ties the emotional component that's going on to a physical manifestation, like, heart attack. And what I was drawn to out of the possibilities, this is actually what it said in the book. Big Daddy. They are hyper achievement motivated and they have feelings of having to take care of the world. They also feel that they are in a never ending competition in which they simply must come out the winner. I mean, Big Daddy, right? The Big Daddy heart attack. But it's also links her to how big her dad was and her feelings of wanting to save the world and this never ending competition. So it says there is an underlying lack of self-acceptance and a felt need to atone or make up for their personal lacks and their prior letdowns and betrayals of those people and things which were important to them. It comes from a family who made it very clear to them every time something went wrong that they should have handled it differently. Now, I think we can see how that played out for Lisa Marie, how she was made to feel in competition with her father, how she was expected to act. This is not to put her family down in any way, as all of our families do this kind of stuff very unconsciously. There are no perfect parents or family members, but I know that Lisa knows now she was really loved by very many people. And now that she's on the other side, she continues to support her family and she's helping to guide them through this difficult period. She has asked that you also send your love to them as well, not placing any blame or judgment on what is going on. She's with her father, of course, her son, grandparents, all is well for her now. And she wouldn't change anything that happened in her life. She has learned so much from the lessons. And she wanted me to be sure and to convey that she is feeling wonderful. She sees everything that happened. She's no longer blind to anything. And she also wants me to pick a few cards to bring you guys some more messages here. So the first one is we're going to go to the Oracle of the Shapeshifter. She was very much a shapeshifter personality, in my opinion, and the energy that I get from her. So something, so the card 18 comes up, 18 adds up. I'm actually going to, if you can, I'm going to stop sharing the screen so I can show you the cards as they come up. And so this one, if you can see that, it's number 18, which adds up to 9. Again, 9 is kind of, it's not in Lisa's chart, but 9 is about endings. It is about a new way forward. Again, letting go of the old. And this says, little wolf girl, it is all right to be alone. And again, you could see where Lisa struggled. Those karmic or challenged fives are, it's all about learning independence and being okay, getting rid of all of that, being inventive. And that's something we all need to do, is learn that it's okay to be alone. And you can see here in the picture the moon, that was her in her challenges, the cycles, those moods, up and downs, managing them. She, that kind of howling at the moon I get from this card, with the werewolf and her, like she said, the changing, the shape shifting of her energy at times, all a part of her, again, wonderful, challenging life. Oh, that's a beautiful card. Definitely see that about her. And next, we're going to go to Wisdom of the Hidden Realms. Because I got such a sense of mystery around her, that hidden sevens about really hiding herself from those that she loved. Okay. And so here comes up what's called the Hawk Prince. And this is number 11. 11, again, remember, was in her challenges, was part of her ancestral DNA with her dad. And it says spirit communication and paying attention. So this is her, again, the Hawk Prince, right? That be careful of who your prince is. Is it a predatory? Hawk reminds me of being predatory. Hawk is also about seeing things from this high perspective, right? Are you seeing clearly, taking the time? There's never any big hurry to get into a relationship, to to jump into any situation without feeling it through and connecting with the spiritual side of us, because we are spiritual beings, and the answers will be shown to us if we ask. And that's why, again, it's talking about that spirit communication. And I just love the wings and the kind of that smoke, that cloudiness. We kind of envelop ourselves with a, energy of maybe smoking something to make it go away. That kind of just came to me. Oh, yeah, and there is a hawk in this picture. And like I said, hawks can be very predatory. So it's, again, about paying attention to what's going on, and also sticking to your vision, so that you can manifest what it is you truly are after. So we're going to go a little bit lighter here into the Oracle of the Fairies, because I look at her and she had this album and had wrote this song, Storm and Grace. And I see that in her, that 11-2 being very stormy, and the sevens are all about this beautiful heart and this grace, and her creativity is being very graceful, right? And so the energy that is coming up here is this beautiful protect your dreams. And I see this great, she's got her hands on her heart. Green is all tied to the heart energy, and it says, you are the guardian of your precious dreams, and they are safe in your care. Keep them close to your heart until you're ready to release them. And so this also is a great lesson for us to be careful of who we're sharing our dreams with, because if you're not surrounded by the right people, they will put negative ideas into your dreams, and that will interfere with your manifestation of them. So it's very, very important. She really wants to come through with protecting your dreams. That is so gorgeous. Now the next one we're going to hear is the Angel Guide Oracle. I just got these cards of the Kyle Gray, and again, we're going to talk about romance and connection here. You can see all this beautiful connection, how we romantically get involved with people. She does want me to read the passage out of the book, so we're going to do that with this particular card. That's such beautiful energy again. Romance and connection. She had 4 different relationships. 4 is all about balance. She had 4 children. Again, that's all about balance as well. 4s are tied to that abundance and trust and balance. So it's saying, angels of romance are swirling around your life at this time, ushering in positive, uplifting, and heartfelt experiences to remind you that love is real. Allowing yourself to be romanced, to receive and experience a true connection, is important at this time. It is likely that your heart space is opening up any barriers or shields that have been in place, and they are falling away. If you find yourself scared or uptight about romance, know that this is not only a sign that you would like to experience it, but also that it is something that your energy system really needs. Your angels are guiding you to begin seeing yourself as loving and deserving of love, knowing that you have so much goodness and light to offer others and to the world. You are also being encouraged to know that the world wants to see you, to know you, and to understand your heart. All of this is only possible with your permission. Why not give it now? You can see how she wants you to learn from her experience about, showing who you are to the world. So So she's saying the energy of romance is increasing in your life at this time. If you are already in a relationship, this could mean that you have an opportunity to connect more deeply and share intimacy and love. If your relationship hasn't been the main focus or priority of your heart for a while, your angels are encouraging you to make time for it. If you have a new relationship unfolding or there's the potential for a new relationship to unfold, angels will help you move forward with it now. Call on divine love from the universe, invite it to open your heart, and then be willing to receive interest and love from others. Whatever the reason for this card appearing, this is a time to enjoy and be enjoyed in a loving way. So make sure that there's love there. And the final card we're going to pull is from the secret language of light. So what would Lisa's Marie last message for us be? And it is number 20, the 2 again in her chart. You see there's that upward triangle, that spiritual side of her chart, soul writing, the importance of writing things down to help ground them. And you can see truth. We know she had those. Truth is very important to people with 5s in their chart. And then you can see this is kind of how we stack up, as we have, again, our selves here, then we have our higher selves, and then we have some even higher dimensions and other energies that we can pull off of. So I'm going to go to the soul writing reading. And I always put all of these cards in the description box below and their meaning, or at least the general meaning from them. So what does it say about soul writing? Our final message from Lisa Marie. You are the author of your story. It was one of her, I just wanted to say, she wish she would had talked about writing an autobiography to tell her real story because of so much of the falseness that goes on with the tabloids and stuff. And so she's encouraging other people now that you are the author of your story. Write one that inspires you and don't let anyone else command the pen. Physical reality is temporary. It is forever changing from one moment to the next. The events and experiences of your life are multidimensional, living art. Their purpose and form will shift as your perception of them does. You can view and adjust any stories from your past, present, or future. Let go of justifying or analyzing the events that become your stories and lift yourself into a new way of seeing them. Look at the card. And imagine you are the angel rising and connecting to the soul light at the top of the pyramid. From this expanded view, you can see all your stories and their facets from a neutral position. We talked about that 11-2, getting that objectivity, the higher wisdom from a higher perspective. So a higher perspective will unveil and reveal what was previously unknown. You may be surprised, shocked, or embarrassed that the story you have identified with is not what you thought it was. Don't stress. This indicates that the stories are shaking loose and the healing is occurring. You are doing so well. You are worthy and you are loved. Oh, that was her final message for us. What a beautiful message, and how important for her to share that with her, having that as part of her soul journey. So thank you to Lisa Marie for sending the energy through for me to pull up the soul chart and pull up the information that she wanted to convey to you all. And I want to thank you for being here and for watching. And also I want to know that according to Maharishi, the most important question you can ask yourself is, who am I? And I will see you in the next video. So goodbye for now.